Hey, everybody, it's Maisha Majors again. This is my third episode of my podcast of Black Voices in Real Estate, where we discuss topics that are easy. Some of them are hard, some of them are challenging. But our goal is to talk about our experience, whether it be positive or negative, as Black professionals in real estate. Today, I have dynamic agent Melanie Little. Not only is Melanie a realtor, she's also an investor. So I wanted to welcome Melanie and have her talk to us about what she does and what her experience is. So, you guys, welcome Melanie.
Hi everyone.
All right. So let's talk about how you got started in real estate. What inspired you? What made you decide this was what you wanted to do?
Um, okay, it's hard for me to pinpoint that, but I will say that back in 20 like 17, 18, I had just moved to California and I was a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
So I wasn't working, I was working now as a mother. I was working a lot.
I'm
Yeah.
like, that's a full time
Yeah, that's
job
a
and some.
full-time job. Yeah, so I was working in the home. And then years went by and I had another child and went through that whole process. And then one day, I think at the time my husband he was doing flips. He was flipping properties in Chicago still.
Okay.
And it came time to sell one of the properties. And when I looked at the settlement statement, the realtor that he was using double ended the deal.
Okay.
So this realtor had found the property, helped them throughout the flip process, working with the contracts, all of that. So him double ending the deal, finding the buyer and representing the seller wasn't a big deal. But I noticed he was getting paid 6%.
Okay.
And I was just like, I can't believe you guys just paid him that much money. Like it just sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
So I just started doing research on how much do realtors get paid or what's the fee, like all these things. And I was like, a lot of these chat seats, investor rooms and stuff, they're like, oh, our realtors, we just pay them a flat fee for our listings when, they bought the property with us because we're giving them value in business.
Uh huh.
Or we may pay them, just a shortened commission, if they find the buyer, they'll normally give us a deal. Right.
Right.
And so when I brought this up, my husband just like we didn't understand it. He was like, well, no, he wouldn't do anything like that on purpose. Maybe it's just a mistake. And I think what it was is that he just took advantage in that we didn't know that side of real estate.
Right.
And because knowing what I know now, I don't know, I just would not feel comfortable, even if I could, charging a client double in full commission. Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know.
And
I,
representing both
and
sides. Yeah.
representing both sides. That's just like,
Yeah.
whew, that's a nice check. Um, so after that experience, it was on my mind. Like, I'm gonna get licensed. I'm gonna get licensed.
Yeah.
Another 2-3 years go by. Now we're in 2021, and I finally do take my test, get the license, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get licensed, and I'm gonna be your realtor for your flips. I'll take over that. We can keep that money.
Right.
We can keep that
Right.
big check right
Yeah.
here in the family. So that's how I essentially got started and got licensed.
Wow.
Was
Okay.
trying to help out my husband
Trying to
with
help your
flipping.
husband with
Yeah,
flips.
yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. So, question, as an African American female, what has your experience been in real estate? Have you felt like there's been any challenges, any obstacles that you faced?
Mhm.
First as a woman and then as an African American woman.
Yeah, I mean, there's challenges that I face every day, I feel like. Especially when it comes to like lead generation, that's the hardest thing, right? Because we know in order to have the business, you have to put yourself out there, you have to market, you have to speak to home buyers and sellers.
Right.
And so for me, I like listings. I prefer listings. I don't like to drive and show properties.
Right.
I knew that my first year in the business, like, this
Oh,
buyer
that
stuff
was
that's
me.
not gonna work. I have to be a listing agent.
That was me. I was like, wait, I gotta drive all the
Yeah,
time.
and then I gotta go here and I gotta come back. And it was just like, okay, no,
A
I'm
lot.
exhausted and nobody wrote an offer.
That
But wait a
part.
minute, I'm tired. I worked very hard today. I didn't eat. And
And I showed 10
where's the money?
property. I
Yeah,
showed
where's the
10
money?
properties and they want to go out again tomorrow and we still may not be writing an offer.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was over that and I'm like, well, how do you get listings?
Yeah.
Okay, I discovered cold calling. And so in my experience with that, I have very good energy on the phone. I can talk to anyone. I break the weird barrier down very quickly.
Okay.
Because I'm always myself. I've never used a script.
Right.
And I probably sounded crazy at first until I was
Mhm.
like, okay, at least get something out of the conversation.
Right.
But I noticed that if I'll fast forward a little bit, they'll love me over the phone. Hey, yeah, come over. I'll show you this. We just put a new pool in. Come by Tuesday at 4 o'clock.
Right.
I show up Tuesday at 4 o'clock, and it's,
Who are
oh, you're
you?
Melanie.
Yeah.
You're the realtor. Oh, one second. And they go in, and it's just like so cold, totally opposite from the phone
From the
conversation
phone
we had.
conversation, yeah.
And this was before a lot of people told me like, oh, just send the CMA packet and send your resume or something first.
Mhm.
Well, then I started doing that, and I didn't even get any appointments after doing that. So
Wow.
before I would send anything with my photograph, I would at least get the appointments, at
Right.
least get a call back. At least they're responding to me. I'm following up. Um, but when I show up, it's a different tone, a different, they're colder. And then later I would send out like my resume, my business card or whatever. No reply. They're
Wow.
like, oh, send video text. Each thing I did more that
The more
progressively as
you
I showed
showed
up as
yourself,
a black woman, the more people
pushback.
pushed away.
Yeah.
But if I hopped on the phone and said, hi, this is Melanie,
Right.
it's cool.
Right.
So that's the biggest thing to me that I experienced in this market, Southern California. Like, I don't know how you ever overcome it. I
Mhm.
don't know why it's that way, but I've personally experienced it. I don't know what to call it or if I can call it anything, but it's what I've experienced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Because I have never done cold calling.
Okay.
Well, I won't say I've never done it. I did it when I was new.
Hmm.
Didn't go over well. I can't hide who I am because my name is Maisha.
Yeah.
So when I
Yeah.
was new, I had a lot of agents who looked like us telling me, don't put your picture on anything, maybe
Hmm.
just use, Miss Majors on stuff. And I was like, okay, but when I show up, they're going
Yeah.
to see
You
me.
can't
So
hide
I'd
it.
rather people know who I am from
Hmm.
Jump Street. So that stopped me from doing the cold calling piece. I tried the door knocking. The door knocking was get off my porch. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm
How
gonna
did you
call
get
the
in here?
cops. Yeah, I'm gonna call the cops. So I was like, okay, that's not gonna work for me.
Hmm.
So I chose social media as my vehicle to really speak to people and get myself out there. And social media proved to be what helped my business grow. But I think it was because I was talking to people who were my friends already, people who trusted me, people who felt like I was giving them information that nobody else would give them.
Hmm.
So with that, that started to move my business and move the needle in the right direction for me.
Hmm.
But everybody has their own way of doing it. So yeah, I can imagine that being challenging. Your name is Melanie. You
Hmm.
don't sound like anybody in particular. So when you call people, they'll get giddy talking to you
Yeah. Yeah.
until you show up.
Until I
You
show
know,
up.
yeah,
Hmm.
I've talked about showing up to people's houses. They won't even open the door once they see who's
Wow.
on the other end of the door,
Yeah.
or questioning my client's pre-approval, wanting to
Wow.
see it right then and there at the door. Just crazy things that sometimes we as not only women but black women experience, and I'm
Yeah.
sure it's an experience that a lot of black agents also have.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I know we have.
How have you successfully used real estate to build wealth for yourself? I know you talked about you and your husband flipping properties,
Yeah.
and I know you flip properties in other states. Have you flipped any here in California?
Yes, so we did one here.
Okay.
And I won't say I had much to do with the part of it, but California is a different market.
Yeah.
It's very different, and it was a huge learning curve because we essentially applied the methods that work in a market like Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't work
Here.
here. And that
Gotcha.
was very alarming. It didn't stop me. I will flip again here.
Mm-hmm.
But real estate, I would say being an agent helped me the most because I learned to maneuver deals better,
Gotcha.
essentially, and I learned how to negotiate and speak with homeowners and that sort of thing so much better. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, I would say those two things alone, like my negotiation and just things that I know now.
Uh-huh.
It's like when I'm talking to people, I almost know, okay, say this next because then that's going to lead them here. Like it's just little strategies and stuff that's really helpful
Okay.
that I didn't know before. It's just a flipper without a license or anything like that. So, building the wealth here, I would say is definitely just the information you have access to.
Mhm.
Now I can use tools like NAR RPR. I can look up homeowner information. I have more data. So
Mhm.
that's number one thing, just having access to that information. And then just still taking the chances when they do come along.
Mhm.
But no, not a lot of experience flipping in California. But to answer your question, yeah, flipping in general and just having access to the data and stuff like that is just a lot better, with the real estate license for sure.
Okay, so explain to me the difference between California versus Illinois or Chicago real estate.
So I would think culturally it's a big difference. There's
Okay.
a big difference there. Chicago, we have more minorities there. Like it's more of us there.
Mhm.
And I feel like the employment is better.
Okay.
Like the city of Chicago is a big employer. Cook County, which is the county that Chicago sits in, is a big employer, and
Okay.
we have good jobs there that pay very well.
Okay.
Even myself, I was a paralegal before I moved here,
Okay.
um, and did real estate. I was a paralegal at Cook County, and the pay that I made then in 2017 is still higher than what they're paying paralegals here,
Oh wow.
unless you're at like the top firms in OC in LA.
Oh wow.
But the good part about it is that the home prices, up until recently, were still very
Low.
good and low. But
Okay.
even now, you can still move into a working class suburb of Chicago and get a nice house for $300,000.
Wow.
With in a
Mhm.
decent school district, taxes are a little bit higher than here. So the value of home ownership is so attainable there. Versus here, I feel like in our community, most people, I don't know, just this could just be my experience. I didn't grow up here, but in my experience, a lot of us rent here. It's hard to, obtain home ownership.
Okay.
Where I feel like back home, it's like you go to college or trade school, whatever, you get into your professional career.
Mhm.
By like 25, 26, most people are buying homes. I bought my first house at I was 24.
Wow.
Yeah. It was only $94,000, but it was mine
Wow.
and it was a home. So I feel like here it's like, okay, how much is the first house? 600,000? That's most people never
Easy.
buy a $600,000 home.
Yeah.
So I think that's the main difference. Like it's just the opportunity and the access to home ownership is so much easier. And
Mhm.
that's why I work the
It's
market.
more challenging here.
It's more challenging here because
Yeah.
you can have people, a family, a great family, they both work, they have decent credit, and it's still hard sometimes to get them into a home.
Very true.
There's so many other challenges because if they are approved for 500 or 550, so are a lot of people. So the
Mhm.
homes that are nice in that price range, it's more competition. It's. Um, so I would say culturally, just the access to home ownership is very much different.
And you don't feel as challenged as a female and an African American realtor
Absolutely not.
in that arena in Chicago versus here in California.
Nope, because there's so many black people that are buying and chasing home ownership.
Wow.
The clients are plentiful. You know
Okay.
what I mean? It's not like here in California. I've only had one black client ever.
Really?
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, we're in Chicago. Majority of my clients are black. I have had some others, other races
Mhm.
and stuff, but majority I serve the black community where I grew
Okay.
up. So it's just a disparity. So where like here I get it, it's very hard to get the business to prospect for business. There I don't really do much prospecting and lead generation, but yet I close about like 3 to 6 deals a month.
Wow.
Yeah. So I know if I did the things I do here to get business, if I did them there, I could easily double that.
Right.
Yeah. So it's so different.
Different as day and night. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's day and night.
And most of my business here in California has been African American families. I do some others, but the majority of people who contact me are African Americans, but I also grew up here too
Yes.
and grew up in this community. So I have a familiarity with a lot of people
Yeah.
that maybe you haven't experienced yet.
No. And you know what? It's really, I bet if I tried, I know I could.
Yeah.
If I put myself into the community in other areas,
Hmm.
events besides real estate, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
I could do
Yeah. I
that
tell
too.
people because I was watching after we had that last breakthrough event
Hmm.
and Brandy was on there. And so I had never watched that show. So I went and
Mm.
watched the Selling OC show.
Yeah.
And, she was just, and her and I were speaking because she grew up out here too.
Mhm.
And we went to the same high school and everything. It was
Oh, wow.
crazy. I mean, she graduated. She's younger than me, so she
Yeah.
graduated after I was already gone. But it was just interesting because we were both talking about, how you get people who gravitate to you because
Mhm.
of the area that you grew up in. And that's the experience that she's having out in the OC. She doesn't have the same opportunities necessarily as some
Yeah.
of her counterparts because they grew up there. That's
Yep.
their neighborhood. They went to
Mhm.
school with these people. They know these people's parents.
Yeah.
They all of that. And so I was speaking to Will Higgins, and we were talking about it. And I told him, I says, well, I guess if that's the stance that brings us business, then I would have to say my advantage has been that
Yeah.
because I grew up here, went to school here, went
Mhm.
to church here, played sports here, like you name it, I've done it here in the
Mhm.
IE. So I'm like, I'm engrossed in the community a different way that somebody who just comes here
Yeah.
isn't going to have that same advantage. So I have
No,
a
it's
different
totally different.
advantage.
Yeah, it's totally
Yeah.
different. And I remember to a point I was seeing one day, like the experience people contact you from your social media.
Right.
That's so rare for me.
Yeah.
It has happened.
Yeah.
It really has happened. I have had people reach out to me, total strangers.
Hmm.
But when it does, I'm just like, oh yeah, look at social media doing its thing. But I don't feel like it's like a
But
something
when
I
you
can
hear me
count on.
saying, you're
Yeah, so
like,
I'm
get
like,
on
oh,
social
that's
media, do this. You're
yeah, but
like,
I
that's
do it
not
anyway.
helping.
Yeah, but I just know for me here in this space, and I don't know, it could be different. Like
Yeah.
probably when you were doing it years ago, like the hashtags worked, placing your location on stuff worked. Now everything is so saturated,
Yeah.
it's not gonna find you
Everybody's trying to be a
anyway.
content creator right now.
Trying to be a content creator. Yep.
So you have to kind of like niche your way in
Yeah.
and figure out, okay, who's like, what can I do different and set myself
And
apart
that's me. That's
from
exactly
these
what I
people
did.
so I can, experience the same
Yep.
success. So, okay, another question. What's been your most rewarding and memorable flip?
Mhm.
What was that like?
So it was the one I did. Well, I started a while ago, but I sold it the beginning of this year.
Okay.
And that one because it was a huge project. It was actually a two flat, which is
Okay.
what we call a duplex in Chicago.
Okay.
And that one, I mean, literally, I I can admit now because I'm past it, but I was in over my head.
Okay.
But I can admit it
Been there,
now.
done that.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, I thought, okay, it's not what I thought it was. Okay, but I'm
Okay.
gonna get done. But the once we started to finish, there were so many trials and tribulations.
Mhm.
So many trials and tribulations. And I'll be honest, I ran out of money several times.
Mhm.
Several times.
Mhm. So you have to stop,
Had to stop,
pivot, wait.
wait till some money come
Yeah.
in, wait till I close a deal. And I remember saying, like, oh, I have deals. I don't have to worry about that. The
Mhm.
deals were not coming.
Yeah.
I think that it was like, no, you got to pivot, and the deals weren't coming how I thought they were. Like, if I would be doing it now, I would be so fine.
Right.
So, but it's okay because I actually did finish. Where I know
Mhm.
a lot of people would have gave up
Mhm.
and probably put the property on the market
Just sold
unfinished
it.
because I could have
Yeah.
did that anytime. I'm
Yeah.
licensed there, but I was like, no, like this is me. This is my, I'm big on if I start something, I have to finish it.
Right.
And so I got through with it. The property came out so beautiful.
Okay.
And I literally did everything. I took the property down to a brick shell.
Wow.
So knew everything
And
from
built it all the way
insulation
back up.
up to
Yeah.
cabinets. So it took me about 14 months from
Okay.
start to finish. If I
And
didn't
how
take any
often
breaks,
do you visit your projects? And do
I
you
like
visit
to,
all of them?
yeah, yeah, like once a month.
Okay.
That's kind of like my goal to put the eyes on there. If it's only me,
Okay.
so moving forward, I am trying to scale and like have a project manager, a project assistant, and different more help so
Mhm.
that it doesn't always have to be me
Right.
providing the checks and balances.
Mhm.
So that's a, something I'm working on a lot. But once a month, ideally, I like to put my eyes on it.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's I mean, I'm inspired just when I see like all of the stuff that you're posting because I'm just
Mhm.
like a lot of people, including myself, you get into real estate and like I heard a girl recently and she was just saying residential real estate, that's just like the starting point. And she was like, if you really want to make this business work for you and truly build wealth, you need to get into, you know, investing in properties.
Yeah.
And so when I see, all of your posts and what you're doing, I'm just like, excited for you. And also like, I need to know, how do I get in this? Because I did try it. I
Yeah.
tried investing in some properties in another state.
Mhm.
And it didn't work out so well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I probably did, like you said, how most people would. I gave up. I sold it to an investor.
Mhm.
I just wanted my money to get back out of it
Yes.
and break, just break clean. So a clean break from it. But when you're not there, you don't have as much control. And when you don't know the people who are there and you
Exactly.
don't know anybody and you're trusting other people to
Mhm.
send you, you know,
Yeah.
people. I'm like, it was an experience and it was a
Mhm.
learning process, just like you're saying.
Yep.
So you have to like find people you trust, find people who, know what they're doing. I had like ran out of money,
Yep.
all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm not putting any more money into this project. I, gave somebody a lot of money to find out that they basically did not do good work.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't even sell the properties when he said, oh, they're ready to sell, because the inspections were coming back like just tearing me up. And I
Wow.
was like, oh my God. So
Wow. Yeah.
that scared me to a point
Mhm.
to where I was like, I don't know when I'm gonna do this again. But knowing and seeing like somebody like you and other people who have successfully kept going, because I'm sure we all have to have that learning
Yes.
experience in order to get to the other side and be like, okay, now I know what not to do
Yep.
so I can move differently
Yeah.
this time. So it's definitely something that I do want to do again. I've been
We're
thinking
gonna do it
about,
again.
you're like, you're going to do
We're
it.
gonna do it. Yeah.
I've
I
been
got
thinking
you.
about like, let's buy and hold, or let's, come up with some other strategies. But it is something that I think a lot more people need to know about. And I think
Mhm.
that would help a lot of people in our
Mhm.
community get into real estate. Even if you're not buying your first property to live
Mhm.
in, if you're buying your first property to invest in,
To invest in, absolutely.
that's something that will help you build
Mhm.
your wealth and eventually get you to your goal of buying a property. So I love that, you didn't give up and that you,
No, I came really, really close, and something told me to just stick it out.
yeah,
And now I feel like I can do anything
yeah,
because I made it through that, and
yeah,
I know the ups and downs. I went through every subcontractor because I essentially built a house. I
right.
just already had a foundation.
Yeah,
So now that I've done that, I'm like, okay, I can do anything in this real estate
yeah,
game. So it was worth it, and I
okay.
understand why God put me through the process.
Hmm.
It was really worth it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like for me, I'm like, okay, next time I do it, I need to do it in California because I need to be close enough. I don't want to have to go visit a spot
To
every,
fly, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
every, not that I couldn't fly, but it was just like, do I really want to go and do this? And then, so it's just a process. I'm going to get there.
And you can do it here. And I think once you have a successful flip or
Yeah.
a successful deal from
Yeah.
start to finish, it's gonna build your confidence to
Yeah.
where now you know what you're looking for if you do go to another state.
Hmm. Yeah.
Versus because it can feel you can feel hopeless when you're here and your
Yeah.
project is there and your money is there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So for me,
Which is
like they
pretty
know me
much
by
what it
name
was
at the
like.
airport now. They be like, "You back again? Yes.
I'm
Hey, how
back
you
again.
doing?"
Hey. Yeah.
So and I know in the future I won't have to go back as much
Right.
because I really built a solid
Because you'll
team now.
build a solid team that
Yes.
can help you have eyes on the ground and feet on the ground for you. So
Exactly. Exactly.
I love it. All right, let's pivot
Mhm.
to our last topic, which sometimes people will think is a little controversial. We were talking about it ahead of time and just talking about some of these stats of what it looks like when it comes to Black home ownership. Like the Black home ownership numbers are under 50%, like less than 50% of Black families nationwide are homeowners, as to where our counterparts are in the 70%.
Wow.
Even with brown people,
Mhm.
they're just a little bit ahead of us by
Yeah.
maybe 1 or 2%. Um, and so when it comes to home ownership, a lot of times I know, most people get into homes by way of down payment assistance.
Mhm.
What's your feelings on
Mhm.
down payment assistance?
I love down payment assistance. I don't
Okay.
understand why it's not utilized more here.
Mm-hmm.
We use it a lot in Chicago. Like
Okay.
it's normal. It's you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like we want to see our clients come to the closing table with no money.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like a bragging thing.
Yeah.
Like I got my client this three flat, and they only brought $2,000 to the closing
Yeah.
table. Like it's like what?
Yeah.
You
It's
bought
like
this
amazing.
beautiful historic, building
Mm-hmm.
for essentially a couple grand.
Yeah.
Like we strive to accomplish that for our clients there. Like
Yeah.
have them come to the closing table with no money because there's so many programs out there and there are ways that it's achievable. But I feel like in California, I don't know if it's frowned upon or just not known or just I don't know the deal. I'll be honest. I feel like lenders don't like down payment assistance programs here.
Some lenders do, some lenders
Yeah.
don't. You do have some lenders who really specialize in down payment assistance. So I have successfully closed a lot of transactions for buyers who are
Hmm.
buying with down payment assistance.
Yeah.
Um, in California, because the prices are so much higher,
Yeah.
sometimes that down payment assistance only covers the down payment. It doesn't cover their closing
The closing
costs.
costs. Yeah.
And sometimes it does. The better their credit, sometimes the more assistance they can get. So sometimes it can, but that also increases their interest rate, which
Right.
increases their payment. So sometimes people will shy away from using the down payment assistance programs because they know, okay, what will my payment
Makes
be
the
and
payment
what do I
higher.
qualify for
Yeah.
without it? If I can pull money from a 401k, or if I can get, a loan from,
Hmm.
a family member, if somebody will
Yeah.
gift, not a loan, gift funds, excuse me. If I can get those gift funds, then
Instead,
that
yeah.
can get me into this property. So you have a lot of people who will opt for that, especially as interest rates have climbed.
Hmm.
They're starting to gradually come down, but still not coming down to what a lot of people deem affordable.
Yeah.
And so, with that being said, I think that's why sometimes people will opt to bypass the down payment
Bypass it. Yeah.
assistance programs, but there are plenty of programs. The one that I think has been most talked about in the recent couple years is that California Dream for All
Oh
program,
yeah.
that shared appreciation program, shared
Hmm.
equity, or what have you. And I was super shocked to find out that only 3% of African Americans actually got approved and did a loan
Wow.
with that program when that program was supposedly created for minority families,
Yeah.
as to where over 35% of white families got approved and utilized that program. What are your thoughts on that?
Um, I mean, it's a shocking disparity, but I'm not shocked. If that
Mhm.
makes sense, like it sounds
Mhm.
very alarming. three
Mhm.
percent versus 35%.
Yeah.
Three.
Yeah.
We didn't even make double digits.
Right.
So it's very shocking.
Sad.
But I'm not shocked. Like you
Right.
know what I mean. I know there's other things at play within systems like that.
Mhm.
Um. So really, like I would love to know the deeper numbers.
Mhm.
Like what were the applications? Like
Mhm.
did we have a lot of applications but only so few, got the
Got
loan?
approved. Yeah.
Did they have less but majority of their applications got approved?
Mhm.
I would be very interested to know that.
Mhm.
And dive deeper into that. And who are the loan officers?
First, yeah.
Point them out. Like point like how
The
did this
crazy
happen?
thing with the Dream for All, you know, a lot of people got approved for it,
Hmm.
and it became a lottery system, if you
Yeah, it
remember.
became a lot of yep.
And so they supposedly, picked people out of this lottery.
Hmm.
The question is, were the people truly picked by a lottery, or were their files scrubbed and they picked the best of the best? Like, that's the question that's out there.
Mm.
You know, I I have my
Hmm.
opinion of what I think happened, based off of the numbers.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know, for sure that it was a true lottery versus we're going to cherry pick the best files that are in here. So,
Hmm.
you had people who applied and so many people got approved, but then there was only so much money, if you remember.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
like
you're
we only
running
have
out.
enough money for, say, 11,000 people, or 100,000 people. So after that
Mhm.
money runs out, it's gone,
Yep.
as to where they may have had, say, 300,000 applicants who
Mhm.
qualified, but they only picked 50 out of that 300,000. That's like, now there's other down payment assistance programs, of course, and the numbers are not this stark.
Yeah.
But for something like this that was so popular because it was giving people 20% of a down payment,
Yeah.
it was helping them eliminate um, mortgage insurance.
Yep.
It was putting people in a different, you know, position as far as payment and what they could afford.
Mhm.
So it's just sad that you see that huge disparity
Yeah.
amongst the African American community with a program that was so popular.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Um, my other thing is, statistics show that Black applicants are approved for down payment assistance programs less often than their white counterparts. For example, Black applicants often face denial due to a higher debt to income, even when they're in a better financial position than other groups. How do you like? Have you had to navigate that conversation with clients? Because I know I have.
Yeah, I always get confused with the DTI stuff
Hmm.
because I feel like every lender I talk to, it's a different
It's a different thing.
parameters, a different setup.
Mhm.
So for me, I don't know, like the lending stuff. I'm like, you know what? I can't. Like, I'm so focused on getting my client the deal. I
Yeah.
just be like, okay, you can't do it. Okay, okay, it's no okay.
Let me
We're
go
gonna
to
go
another lender. Yeah.
instantly. Like
So you pivot.
I pivot immediately.
Yeah.
Like I don't even, and my clients are always hesitant. And
Yeah.
actually, most people are loyal to the first person that they talk to.
That, and then they don't want their credit ran
They don't
multiple
want their credit
times.
because they're not educate them. Hey,
Yeah.
listen, when you're buying shopping for a mortgage, you have time to compare rates.
Yeah.
This is encouraged in the industry.
Yeah.
You should absolutely, when you're
Shop
spending this
around.
much money, you should shop around.
Yeah.
And then when you are into a deal, if a lender is giving you the runaround in the middle of
Mhm.
your underwriting, like they're not being
Time
definite,
to pivot again.
trying to pivot again. That
Yeah.
just happened to me. I had to have another lender save a deal for me.
Wow.
I knew my client
And I've had that
qualified.
happen too. Mhm.
Yep, she was self-employed.
Mhm.
So I think that it was a traditional bank,
Mhm.
a brick and mortar,
Mhm.
and they always struggle if the person is not cookie cutter,
If it's not black and
if
white,
it's not
they
black and
can't
white,
do it.
they can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've literally just went through this, and the new lender, oh, he was like, oh, it's nothing. I just did this,
Mhm.
I just did that, and she's fine. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
fine. I'm like, are you sure we can move the mortgage? And yeah, she's good.
And
I
I
was like,
think
no, I'm just gonna leave it up. Just let me know.
yeah.
He was like, no, if I like, she's good, and
And just
we
like
removed it, and we closed a week later.
yeah, just like all agents aren't created equally, all lenders aren't created equal. I try to make it a point to work with lenders who have multiple programs, multiple
Mm-hmm.
options for different types of incomes, because you do run into the traditional banks who are very black and white.
Yep.
And it's like, we can't do anything other than this. So I think it's important to have um, lenders in your back pocket
Mm-hmm.
that you can actually trust and send your clients to, who you know are going to do what's in your client's best interest,
Mm-hmm.
not what's, they're not going to, you know, look at the race of the people as much.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know as an African American, just needing loans, needing different things for business and stuff like that. Sometimes we experience those things. So you
Yeah.
have to be smart with who you do business with.
Absolutely. You have
Um,
to.
whether it be a realtor or whether it be a lender. So, I find it, you know, sad because even, we're in 2024 and we shouldn't be still experiencing this, but we do.
Yeah.
I was really excited, hoping that that program that was mentioned during the election was going to help more homeowners of, giving people a $25,000 down payment, assistance.
Yep.
We'll see what the new administration brings forth. We'll see if, interest rates get lowered. We'll see what happens. But even down to some of the down payment assistance programs that they've created at some of the brick and mortars, I remember one in particular where it was like, we'll give you a down payment. And it was almost like this 20% shared appreciation thing, but it was only, they only approved it for like certain cities.
Oh wow.
And you had to be a minority,
Mhm.
but a minority could be a woman. So
Right.
it could be,
Right.
didn't have to be, a certain race, but you can only buy in certain neighborhoods.
Mhm.
And to me, I'm like, that's the new age redlining.
Those still
Like you're
exist.
literally like redlining
Yeah.
people into certain communities and into certain
Those are very
areas.
popular in Chicago. Chicago is very still segregated
Mm-hmm.
and red line. So you'll have a loan, and they even get like this. The person who can qualify for the loan has to currently live in a certain area
Wow.
and move to a certain area.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? Like
Yeah.
they are like you, and so I've had clients like, oh, I'm gonna just use my mama address. I'm gonna because they want to take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like, why does it matter where they move, where they live now,
Right.
if they're renting?
Right. Why is the assistance only for, oh, the worst neighborhoods or it's like almost
They
like
incentivize, you know, purchases in certain areas, basically, essentially.
same thing with like the officer programs, the teacher programs. Some of the neighborhoods that they could buy in are not
Mhm.
you have teachers and officers who are like, I don't want to live around my students. I don't want to live around the people who I'm arresting every day. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to live in a different neighborhood. And these programs are only for certain neighborhoods. So
Mhm.
to me, that's another just form of redlining. And, I beg for somebody to do something because we have all of these different rules and laws that have been put in
Mhm.
place by HUD to say you can't discriminate against these protected classes, you can't redline, you can't steer, you
Mhm.
can't do all of these things. But there's been studies even recently
I feel like it happens here a
where
lot.
it still happens.
Even when submitting an offer,
Hmm.
I don't feel like it's right to have to give my client driver's license, their bank account, bank statements, their all that stuff. I don't know. I just and it could be because I worked in a different market where we don't have to do all that.
We
I
don't
can
give that.
literally write an
To get
offer.
them pre-approved, they have to
Yeah,
give
to
all
get
of
them
that.
pre-approved.
Yeah.
But I often see on the MLS must submit DU credit scores,
Hmm.
um, and all that. And I'm like, why do you need all of
Why
that if
do
they
if
have a
they're
pre-approval
pre-approval,
letter
if they're
and we have the
pre-approved, why do
contract?
you need to know what their FICOs
But
are?
about every listing,
Mhm.
they want the contract, they want the pre-approval, the DU,
Mhm.
credit scores,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's I don't know. To me, it's like I think that's too much. Like
Mhm.
just at the offer stage.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
here's the number, here's the contract, here's the
They're
pre-approval.
pre-approved.
Make your decision. But to
Yeah.
demand and stand on, oh, I'm not going to review the offer without all that,
Yeah.
I think it's just too much information,
Mhm.
and I think too much information, can have a negative effect.
Lends to people
Because
being
now you
able
know
to
too much
cherry
about the
pick.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then they can cherry pick if they have multiple offers.
yeah.
I've had situations where they didn't have no offers and our offer didn't get selected because of my client's race. And
Hmm.
then and I knew that's why it happened. The agent and I had a conversation over the phone, but it wasn't something that I could ever go back and prove. She wouldn't admit that that's what was said.
Yeah.
She wouldn't admit any of that. Nothing was in writing. So we as African Americans run into that stuff, not only us but with our clients. And I heard it was Trisha Lee talking about, she's from the Sirhan show that I was talking about, and she was just saying that she has Black friends and family who won't even use her because they feel like, I'm going to get a better deal. This white agent is going to be able to negotiate a better deal for me. I'm going to have better terms if I use them versus
Hmm.
you. I'm going to be able to get
That's so
into more
sad.
doors and more homes using them versus you. And it's
Hmm.
so sad that people think like that. And
Yeah.
I think that's why I've chosen to use social media as like my medium to try and educate people so they don't have to feel like that's their option
Yeah.
to get them in the door.
Yeah.
So,
So I have a question. I
uh-huh.
want to ask a question. How do you feel? And I don't know if you've ever experienced that when someone that you know or someone in the Black community uses a realtor of a different
I'm always wondering what the problem
race. Like, how
is.
did that come about?
Like I said in my last podcast, like, you couldn't find us, like what's going on?
Yeah.
I know there's only 6% of us nationwide. There's more in other areas than
Hmm.
some, but it really, um I don't know if I would want to say concerns me, but the fact that they'll think that they're getting a better opportunity, a
Yeah.
better deal from somebody
Because
who
I never
doesn't
thought about
look
it like
like
from
them.
the point you're giving that
Yeah.
they could have did that intentionally because they think they're gonna get better negotiation and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I never thought about that. Yeah.
I didn't think about it until she brought that up, and I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It concerns me because I feel the other way. I feel like I'm going to go to bat for you differently.
Mhm.
I'm going to stick my neck out here for you
Yes, absolutely.
differently.
I'm gonna tell you the truth
I'm
when we're
going
inside this home.
right. I'm not going to lead you, to invest in something that's not a smart investment. I'm not like I'm that agent who I'm like, if you're not in love with it, we're not going to just write an offer just so you can
Get something.
write an
Yeah.
offer. Like, because you have people, especially when the market is so busy and you're seeing multiple offers on everything, they
Mhm.
just want to keep writing offers. And I'm like, no, I need to make sure that you want this property.
Mhm.
Even though we may be offering higher, we still have even though they're saying they're not going to do any repairs or anything, we still need to do our home inspection. And I don't think that our counterparts, I won't say all of them, but I think some of them would be like, okay, let's get you in this property. And they're not going to protect you and protect your
Mm-mm.
investment the same way. I've had several deals, especially when the market was
Mhm.
crazy. And you had people saying, we're not doing any repairs. We're not doing this. Well, guess what? This came up in the home inspection. This is a safety issue, a health and safety issue. So it needs to be fixed. So we would ask for it or ask for a credit. And 9 times out of 10, it would get done because
Yeah.
they wanted to
They want
close.
to close. Absolutely.
And so, I think that I'm going to look out for you a whole
Mhm.
lot better and a whole lot differently than somebody who don't look like you sometimes. I'm not going to say that that's always the case, but I definitely think that sometimes that can be
I
uh,
think so, and I think
the
it
case.
allows each like that person to feel very much more comfortable
Mm-hmm.
with you telling you certain stuff because we all know when you're working with clients, they don't sometimes tell you everything, and it's
Mm-hmm.
the middle of the transaction. I'm like, well, you didn't tell me
Right.
you can't move out until 3 days after closing
Right.
because it's like how we're in the contract already.
Right.
Like I should know that before
Mm-hmm.
I had you accept this offer, you
Right.
know. So I think that when they have someone like us represent them,
Mm-hmm.
like we're just able to kind of just connect, and they open
Yeah.
up more, and the trust is a
And we're
little
more
bit.
of an open book because,
Mhm.
I'll straight up tell people when I'm listing their homes. I do more listings than I do buyers. Most of my
Mm.
buyers are the houses that I listed
Just
and I'm
yeah.
helping them, find their next property. But, I'm just open. I'll tell
Mhm.
people, like, these are the things to expect. This is the process, as to where you have some people who are like, wow, when I sold, my first home, or when I bought my first home, like, these people didn't tell me any of this.
Mhm.
I didn't know that I needed to, disclose, like, hey, we need, if I know, okay, you're going to need 2 weeks to vacate this property, we're going to
Mhm.
ask for that up front. We're not going to wait. Like, all of
Mhm.
those things, sometimes you have these conversations with people, like you said, because we're connecting on a different level.
Yeah.
I'm going to be able to understand, like, okay, what's going on? What are your needs? I feel more comfortable asking somebody, okay, what are your needs? Why are you making this move?
Mhm.
Like, how can I be of service to you? I feel more comfortable walking in their house being like, okay, unfortunately, I love your decorations, but you got to take some of this down
Yeah.
because we have to unpersonalize your house.
Yes,
As to where
absolutely.
somebody else, I had a client who
Mhm.
I ended up getting I got the listing because she was like, I don't understand why my house isn't selling. This agent just keeps telling me I need to do stuff to my
To
house.
drop the price. To drop the price.
He's not telling me what. He keeps telling me drop the price. He keeps telling me my house isn't clean enough. And she's like, my house is clean. Like, can you come see it and help me? So she canceled the listing with him, and I got to the house, and immediately she has
Mhm.
all these family pictures on her
Oh
wall,
no.
and I'm like, they're beautiful, but you got to
Yeah.
take them
Gotta
down.
take them down.
And she's
Mhm.
like, why didn't he tell me that? And I'm like, probably because he was a white man. He didn't feel comfortable telling you, you need to take your black family off this wall
Mhm.
if you want people to feel comfortable walking in your house.
Mhm. Those books,
And
you
yeah,
gotta put
you
them
got to
in the
take
closet.
the Obama book off the coffee table.
Yeah.
You need to put all of the stuff that's personal to you away. You're moving anyway.
Yep.
So go ahead
Start
and
packing it
pack it
up.
up.
Mhm.
And she didn't want to do it at first, but she was like, well, if you say that's what I have to do to get the household, that's what I'm going to do. I said, there's nothing wrong with the price. It's the way the house is showing and
Yeah.
presenting itself. You got to take some of these black art statues down, all this
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, it's
Depersonalized.
gorgeous. But people want to walk in your home, even other black people. They want to walk in your home and see themselves.
Yeah.
They don't want to walk in your
They
home
don't want to feel
and
like they're
see.
intruding in your house. That's the
Yes.
worst feeling. Cause working with buyers,
Yeah.
I've felt that energy from them. I
Yeah.
can tell they feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
That's the worst thing you can do when you
You
have a listing. You want them to feel at home. You want them to sit down on your couch.
right.
Hey, you want them to feel comfortable.
You walk in somebody's house, they got dishes in the sink still. They got, they just finished, cooking dinner. You smell all of that stuff matters.
Yep.
So you want to keep your house smelling good. You want to keep your house this as nice as it looks in these photos. This is
Mhm.
what it needs to look
That's what
like
it
when
looks in
people
real
walk
life.
in your
Yeah.
house.
Yeah. I always tell my
And so,
clients model home status. That's
yeah,
my phrase. Model home status.
yeah.
So
So I think, just the comfort of us being able to say stuff like that to our clients.
yeah.
Somebody else ain't going to tell them that.
No,
You know,
not all the time.
they're,
Because
they're
it's a
not.
hard conversation
It's
to
a hard
have. It's a hard
conversation to have.
conversation to have.
You know, and I have clients who are like, let me take all this stuff down because I want the highest appraisal. I want my home sold quick. And trust, it was crazy because we removed all that stuff. She got the house spruced up the way I told her, and it wasn't dirty. It was just, it was just like cluttered in some
Mhm.
areas. I was like, you gotta put these things away, pack them away, take all of this art off of your wall.
Yep.
Like you still had to paint in the garage, patch these holes, do touch up paint, and let's get it sold. And in a matter of like a week and a half, we were in escrow.
Yep.
And she was just like, I can't believe this. And I'm like, she's like, I can't believe it was the photos. I'm like, it was the
It was
photos.
the photos and the
Yeah.
feeling of like, oh, I'm tiptoeing around someone else's
Yeah.
house.
I'm intruding in your
Yeah, I'm
home.
intruding. Where you want to feel like, hey, this is your house.
Yeah.
It's clean, it's empty, there's nothing,
Yeah.
little stuff, but this is your house.
Yeah.
You come in here and do what you want.
And she's like, he would just show up with buyers. So I didn't know, like, or, people would just show up to my door. I didn't know they were coming to see the house. And I'm like, no,
Oh
I'm like, we
no.
will have an appointment.
Yeah.
I'll give you
Notice
at
so you
least
can
a
get
2 hour
ready.
notice so you can get the house ready and
Mhm.
vacate. Just keep it,
Yeah.
in a position to where you could just take the broom or take the
Mhm.
vacuum right quick and be out of here within
Yep.
an hour. So, you know, I think it's important to have those experiences with people who are going to feel more comfortable just telling you.
Yeah.
Melanie, thank you so much for your insights. Thank you for just being so open and just for coming and gracing Black Voices with Real Estate and giving us uh, a eye into what it's like selling real estate, not just here in California, but over in Chicago, Illinois. I had no
Mhm.
clue that
Yeah.
you felt those differences.
Yeah.
So that was, I appreciate you
Mhm.
sharing that because had no clue
Yeah.
about the differences between
Yeah. So I'm
the two
essentially
markets.
two different agents in one.
Yeah. You gotta be two
I'm
people.
two different people, and like when I make phone calls there versus here, so
It's different, yeah.
it's different for sure. But I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much for giving me space and opportunity
Of
to
course.
express my thoughts. I really do appreciate it. And I wish you the best with your podcast, and I love what you're doing.
Thank you. All right, guys. If there's anything else you would love to hear us cover, if there's anything else that we haven't been covering on this show, please let me know. Please reach out. I love doing this. I love sitting with professionals who can just shine the light and give, a voice to what goes on as Black professionals in real estate. So, if you have any questions, if you want to be a guest on the show, if you want to add anything to this show, please reach out and let me know. I'm an open book. And until next time, this has been Black Voices in Real Estate.